Hello and welcome to BBC Newsline. A row is brewing at Stormont over a decision by Sinn Féin's Infrastructure Minister to spend £150,000 on Irish language signs at Belfast's new Grand Central Station. Liz Kimmins said the move reflects the thriving Irish language community, but the DUP leader Gavin Robinson has accused her of wasting money on what he called Sinn Féin's pet projects. In an email to his party supporters over the weekend, he warned about putting a marker down to block such decisions by Sinn Féin ministers in the future. Our political editor, Enda McClafferty, is at Stormont for us. Enda, how significant is this dispute and what does it say about relations at the heart of government?
Well, Tara, not for the first time, Irish language has become a pressure point around the executive table. The DUP clearly unhappy with that decision taken by Liz Kimmins, the Infrastructure Minister, to approve that £150,000 for Irish language signs. Now, we know that the Communities Minister, the DUP's Gordon Lyons, has already sent her a letter raising questions around all of this and making the point that this was very much a controversial and cross-cutting issue which should have had executive approval. Now, running alongside this, Tara, then we have another simmering row where Sinn Féin is accusing the Deputy First Minister, Emma Little-Pengelly, of blocking plans to try and resolve a funding crisis for Irish language bodies north and south to the tune of £650,000. And that's because she is refusing to allow a solution to be presented on the executive table to, in other words, let it onto the agenda. So you could see how we have all the ingredients of maybe a fuller crisis here at Stormont, but I don't detect any appetite to allow that to happen. That said, Tara, it wouldn't be the first time that our politicians here have talked themselves into a crisis. So we'll be watching very closely now later this afternoon when the executive questions Emma Little-Pengelly gets to her feet, just to see if this issue is raised then and what her response is.
Enda at Stormont, thank you. As rescue efforts continue in Southeast Asia after Friday's major earthquake, an Irish woman has been describing the moment she was caught up in the disaster. More than 2,000 people have died in Myanmar and almost 20 in neighbouring Thailand, with hundreds still missing. Roberta Laramie was in Chiang Mai when the quake struck. Grania Connolly reports.
A week of national mourning has been declared by Myanmar's military leadership in the wake of Friday's powerful earthquake. Aid agencies say humanitarian needs in the country are increasing by the hour as rescuers continue to search for survivors. More than 2,000 people have been killed and thousands have been injured. The epicentre of the 7.7 magnitude was in Myanmar at Mandalay, but it was so powerful the effects were felt in neighbouring countries, including Thailand, where County Meath woman Roberta Laramie was staying in Chiang Mai.
The best way I can describe it would be that the whole hotel and earth was on water or a really rocky boat. Basically what happened was I had lost my balance and I actually thought it was from the heat. And then when we look up, we just see the whole building is swaying side to side. And all of the pool water had been displaced and all over the lobby. And then I think that's when we realized how bad it was because the pool water was still moving.
Roberta, who had been living in Belfast before going travelling, said she didn't know how to react to the quake.
We're not trained for earthquakes in Ireland and in the UK, so it was just really strange. I don't know if I was amazed. I think it was just shocked is the right answer, and kind of just unknown and disorientated. The hotel staff were so calming and reassuring. They also told us that the building was built for an earthquake of magnitude 6. And then they also said that Chiang Mai has really good infrastructure for this type of stuff.
Search and rescue operations continue in Thailand, but the situation has mostly returned to normal there. But in Myanmar, with hundreds still missing, the death toll could continue to rise. Grania Connolly, BBC Newsline.
The extent to which the Kinahan cartel has flooded the streets of the UK with drugs and guns has been revealed by the police. In a new BBC documentary series about the crime family, the UK's National Crime Agency has said the cartel has been supplying crime gangs for 2 decades. A lawyer for the Kinahans said rumours and theories about them have not been tested in court. In the series, police officers speak exclusively about the threat posed by the Kinahan organisation.
For approximately the last 20 years, the Kinahan crime group has been on the radar of the National Crime Agency. They're drug smugglers, They trade in firearms, and there's no doubt in my mind that they supply many other crime groups across the UK.
The first 3 episodes of the series Kinahan, the true story of Ireland's mafia, are available now on the iPlayer. An Anglican church in Dublin has been unable to reopen an historic crypt to the public since mummified bodies were damaged in an arson attack. Last month, a man was jailed for 6 years for the attack on the crypt. One of the damaged mummified bodies was that of a man known as the Crusader, who died 800 years ago.
Present-day Dublin and part of its history side by side. A city centre church with a rich heritage, a story to tell, above and below ground. But since last summer, this unique story in Dublin has remained untold, halted by the actions of an arsonist.
The mummified bodies that you see here are the remains of the Crusader, who was buried here 800 years ago. His head has been removed. It's actually under here. All his body has been charred. And then the man who'd been buried alive is about 400 years dead. And these are now, irreparably damaged, so they have to be moved.
The history of this crypt is fascinating. The mummified body of the man known as the Crusader, around 800 years old. All the others around 400 to 500 years old. But this place is more than history. This is a sacred space.
As a parish, as the vicar of the parish, and as parishioners, we're custodians of the whole church, not just above the church, but what's below the church. And it's a rather heavy burden to bear.
In time, tourists will return to this historic Dublin landmark. This church is determined that the story of this silent space will once more be heard. Kevin Sharkey, BBC Newsline at St Michan's Crypt in Dublin.
Ireland recorded a first away win in the Women's Six Nations since 2021 with a 54-12 victory over Italy in Parma yesterday. Ireland scored 4 tries in each half, with Anna McGann completing her hat-trick with the final play of the game. The result moved them to 3rd place in the Six Nations table. And the race for ice hockey's Elite League title will go down to the final weekend of the season after the Belfast Giants were upset by the Manchester Storm yesterday. With 2 games remaining, the Giants will win the championship with 2 wins. If they lose, it could open the door for either Sheffield or Nottingham.
We have a big week to prepare here. We've got to win 2 hockey games to win a league title. If we can't do that, we don't deserve it. But I've got faith in this group that we're going to stay committed here, have a big week of training and be well prepared here for a massive game on Saturday here against Nottingham.
Angie has the forecast. Hi, Angie.
Yes, hi, Tara. Well, it's a fine end to March despite a fair amount of cloud around. And as we go into the start of April, high pressure is in charge. So we've lots of dry weather in the forecast. We'll have increasing amounts of sunshine, and daytime temperatures are also going to be above average for most of us anyway. So let's take a look at the satellite picture. There is quite a bit of cloud out there, thick enough to give the odd spot of drizzle, but generally it's dry and it's not completely solid either. There are bright breaks coming through during the afternoon, little bits of hazy sunshine at times, and quite warm, particularly in the west, 16, 17 degrees towards the west and northwest. Parts of the east coast, though, will be cooler with the breeze coming in off the sea. Through this evening, that cloud starts to shift away to the north. It's going to end up a dry, fairly clear night and a cooler night as a result. Temperatures generally 5-6 degrees, maybe a little bit lower in 1 or 2 rural spots with some pockets of mist, but any mistiness will lift with a bit more of a southeasterly breeze picking up through the night. And it is going to be a bit breezy in places tomorrow, but a fine day. Lots of dry weather, lots of sunshine, more blue skies, and of course at this time of year, a bit of strength to the sun as well, moderate UV levels. Again, quite warm, especially in the west at around 16, maybe 17 degrees. Again, cooler on the east coast with the onshore breeze. Not as breezy through the rest of the week. It's dry, lots of sunshine. Some of the nights could be quite cool, but during the day, mid if not high teens, especially towards the west.
Angie, thank you. A signed summary of the news is available now on our website. I'll be back at 6:30 here on BBC One. For now, though, back to our colleagues in Salford. Bye-bye.